Thank you very much, Cahirlock, and I thank the deputies for the contributions. And I have considered the Labour Party motion, and the Government has presented its counter motion on child poverty and homelessness, which shows our determination to drive down the child poverty rates, increase supports for families and tackle family homelessness. We have outlined the significant progress we have made and reinforced our firm commitment to delivering more progress on these critical issues. Ireland has seen extraordinary social and economic progress over the past 4 decades. Reductions in poverty, alongside improvements in living standards, have demonstrated the transformative potential of collective action. However, despite these gains, poverty persists and inequalities remain, and many people struggle to make ends meet and remain one misfortune away from falling into poverty. Strengthening the resilience of households and communities to prevent descents into poverty is crucial. That is why the Government is determined to address poverty and child poverty in particular. I recognise that while figures and statistics are crucial for measuring progress, they are certainly not the full picture. Behind the statistics, figures and percentages are real people. People with daily lived experiences of poverty, deprivation and exclusion. Indeed, the highly progressive Irish taxation system and social transfers are extremely effective at redistributing income and are recognised as one of the most effective at poverty alleviation in the EU. From an international perspective, according to Eurostat, Ireland's at-risk of poverty rate fell from 13.4% in 2022 to 12.3% in 2024. This remained below the EU 27 average at 16%, with Ireland's ranking improving from 7th in 2022 to 5th in 2024. Ireland continued to be the best performing country in the EU in reducing poverty and inequality through social transfers in 2024. Social transfers reduced their at-risk of poverty rate by 62.7% in Ireland, substantially higher than the EU average of 34.1%. While Ireland's system of social transfers are among the best performing across the EU, both I and the Government are conscious that we must continue to strive to do more and assist those families who are in poverty. The latest poverty data from the Central Statistics Office is disappointing and shows us that investing in child poverty must be a continual process. We also must remember that this data does not reflect the Government's full response to child poverty in 2024 and 2025 through budget and other measures. The Taoiseach has spoken about the need to deal with child poverty holistically if we are to have a decisive impact. He has also reiterated his determination that his government will do everything it can to remove the hurdles facing too many children experiencing poverty, to make the race fair and to give every child an equal start. It is important to recognise that Ireland continues to make great progress in cross-national comparisons across the EU member states in terms of addressing poverty and social inclusion. Reducing child poverty is not only crucial for our children, but also important for our communities and country to ensure a fairer and more cohesive society. Our determination to reduce child poverty is reflected in the delivery of our programme for government commitments to date and the establishment of Child Poverty and Wellbeing Programme Office in the Department of the Taoiseach. The setting of a new and ambitious child poverty target, unprecedented increases in core social welfare rates and targeted payments that support families and children most in need, and investment in key programmes and initiatives such as the Hot School Meals and Free School Books programme. We are fully aware of the work that remains to be done over the lifetime of this Government and beyond to reduce child poverty, and are committed to this. For Budget 2026, the Government has made clear the importance of focusing investment and resources to families with children where it is most needed. In making our budgetary decisions, targeted measures aimed at tackling child poverty and reducing homelessness will be at the core. In relation to income support, our key focus will be on exiting existing targeted measures that we know work, such as the child support and working family payments. In line with our programme for government commitments, we are also continuing to explore a targeted child benefit payment. And as Minister Cleary said in his opening address, while work is underway, a second-tier payment is complex and will take time to get right, and therefore it will not be announced as part of Budget 2026. In tackling child poverty, it is essential that we do so with a cross-government approach, and for example, this includes focusing on targeted measures in relation to homelessness and housing. The additional €15 million that I have allocated to my department only in the last few weeks for second-hand acquisitions budget is clear and non-ambiguous reflection of the government's commitment in this regard. And what I have done now as Minister for Housing, when I became Minister for Housing, there was €60 million available for second-hand acquisitions. We are now in the middle of September, and that has increased to €375 million already, so it has. This additional funding complements a range of other measures to address long-term homelessness and will be, as I say, ring-fenced and targeted acquisitions that support families, primarily those larger families with children, to exit long-term emergency accommodation to housing. Together with income supports and measures relating to homelessness and housing for Budget 2026 and beyond, I will continue to concentrate on expanding the vital services in our communities. However, we cannot achieve everything in a single budget, and tackling child poverty and homelessness requires a concerted effort and a continued effort over the lifetime of this government, and that is a firm commitment of the Taoiseach outlined at the Child Poverty and Wellbeing Summit earlier this month. We know that we have work to do, and we are determined to do so. Just in relation to housing, the National Development Plan that was just recently announced, one in every €3 is now going to be spent on delivering housing, either into the Department of Housing or into Ishgéireann to facilitate water to deliver housing. It's an extraordinary level of funding. So when I hear opposition TDs saying, no, we're not spending enough money, those same opposition TDs now need to stand up and say, well, what are you going to cut? Are you going to cut more funding from education? Are you going to cut more money from education? Are you going to cut more money from our hospitals, from our roads? Where are you going to take the money from? Where are you going to take the money from? And you know, look, you're not going to shout me down, so please let me say, no one interrupted yourselves, no one interrupted yourselves. So let me, you know, and I know, look, thank you very much, Cahir. And we look at the tenant in situ. And I'm trying to square what Deputy Batchik said yesterday at Leaders. Because when I introduced the criteria earlier this year, the criteria in the circular puts the focus that the local authorities to actually prioritise families. And you stood up and criticised it. Said that single people were being singled out and left behind. And your TDs did that. And then yesterday you demanded I do what I did in my circular, which is prioritise families. It's just bizarre. And I suspect maybe just didn't actually read the circular that went out to local authorities or what your own TDs have said when it was announced. Because that circular prioritises families, which you criticised for doing. In relation to your motion, we have a demand-led tenant in situ is what you want. We've nearly 60,000 HAP and Ross tenancies. You're well north of €20 billion. Yet you haven't quantified it or said where that money will come from. So on again, more magic numbers like with the million houses you're going to build. And not a single acknowledgement of your last record in government, where you managed in 5 years to turn a housing crisis of too many houses into too few. And those who warned the Labour Party about the mistakes you were making, Sister
Deputies, you will have your chance.
Those who made the warnings to you when you were in government, of the crisis you were creating in government, of turning too many houses into too few, the likes of, what did you do? You just criticised the likes of Peter McFerry instead of listening to them and not realising what was happening. That's what you did. That's what you did. So it's extraordinary. It absolutely is extraordinary. But can I ask you to just go read the circular that went out to the local authorities and realise what it is? It actually prioritises families. I know your motion doesn't actually say about prioritising children because you know whoever wrote it actually did probably read it, whichever your researchers wrote it. But I would ask you to read it as well. As I say, €375 million for second-hand acquisitions already this year. And that's what our focus is on. But we can't solve the housing crisis and the homeless crisis by buying up existing properties. The solution is building more homes and more social homes. And that's what we're doing as a government. It's what I'm doing as a minister, and delivering more and more funding. But again, I would ask you to actually, maybe just put some numbers, some monies, some accounts behind what you're proposing to do here. And, a few facts actually might help the situation. Just a quick one for Sinn Féin. Your own housing policy says to slash tenant in situ. It's online, it's black and white. You want to cut it down because the recognition, what tenant in situ was, tenant in situ was always a temporary measure, even recognised by your own housing policy, so it is. And I think it's extraordinary that as I try and speak for a few minutes in
Sorry,
here,
Deputy, allow the Minister.
I've had everybody try and talk me down. Because you don't want to hear facts. You don't want to hear facts. And it doesn't suit the social media narrative, pop up, get to 30 seconds. You don't want to get engaged in facts. You don't want to engage in figures, so you don't. That's the problem, so it is here. Look at your own housing policy. Look at your own housing policy.
Okay. That includes... Sorry, deputies. Deputies. Through the chair.
Excuse me, Cahill.
Deputies.
I'm asking him one. Are you proud of your record on child homelessness, Minister, yes or no?
They're the figures that matter.
Deputy. Deputy.
Literally, how do you sleep?
Minister.
You're proud of your record, right?
How do you sleep?
You're proud of your record.
In this country.
We don't